All right, folks, welcome to 90.9, the quadratic, for your Algebra 2 Chapter 5 test review video. These are all the answers to our big test review. It says 50 questions, but we found out in 6th hour today there's actually 47. I did a bad job numbering on the second to last page. Anyway, on this first 6, you're going to have 4 of these on your test. You get the pre-test tomorrow. I'll also make a video for that. Guys, on number 1, you simply multiply 6 and 7 to get 42. Add the exponents when you multiply with the same base. So it's going to be x to the 3 plus negative 1, 2. Y to the negative 4 plus 7, 3. Z to the 5 plus negative 7, negative 2. If you have a negative exponent, it crosses the border. So it's going to be z to the second in the denominator. Guys, on 2, 35 divided by 7 is 5. Ask yourself what has more x's, the top or the bottom. The top has 9 more. 7 minus a negative 2 is 9. The bottom has 3 more y's. That's why we have y to the third. If you see just z, that's z to the first. The bottom has 2 more z's, z squared. Number 3, you got to make sure to square 2. 2 squared is 16. When you have x to the fourth power, that's like 4 straight x to the fourths. So instead of doing 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, just simply multiply the exponents. That's how you get x to the 16th, y to the 12th, z to the 20th. Number 4 here, first I would divide. I would do 12 divided by 4 first to get 3. I would simplify that on the inside. The top has 6 more x's. The bottom has 4 more y's. The top has 2 more z's. Then raise everything to the fourth. It becomes just like number 3. 3 to the fourth is 81. X to the 24th. Z to the 8th. Y to the 16th. Number 8 here, power to power. You multiply all the powers. X to the 30th. Y to the negative 10th. Z to the 20th. Because you have y to the negative 10th, send that south. It's going to be x to the 30th, z to the 20th, over y to the 10th. Number 6, guys, 6, you got to square. You got to use the second parentheses here first. You got to square this. 4 squared, 16. That's really x to the first. So power to power, you're going to have x squared, y to the 6th, z to the 4th. Then you're going to multiply it. Then it becomes just like number 1. 3 times 16 gives you 48. Add the exponents, x to the 4th, y to the 9th, z to the 6th. All right, guys, on 7, all you're doing is subtracting. So just do 5 minus a negative 2. 5 minus a negative 2 is 7 with the x squareds. Then you're going to do 11 minus a negative 3, which is 11 plus 3, 14x. 23 minus a positive 8 is just 23 minus 8, 15. Same kind of thing. Let's look at 9 first. Same kind of thing on 9. Distribute 4 to everything in that first parenthesis, 12x squared minus 8x plus 36. And really, guys, instead of multiplying by 5 and subtracting everything, think about this as a negative 5. Negative 5 times x squared. Negative 5 times negative 2x. Negative 5 times 1. All right, then we don't have to worry about, all right, I multiplied by 5. Now I got to subtract everything. All right, so 12x squared minus 5x squared is 7x squared. Negative 8x plus 10x is 2x, and then 36 minus 5 is 31. Underline and combine like terms. Guys, it is on 8s, kind of bombs away with those arrows. You are going to distribute x times x squared, x times 3x, x times 11. Then you do negative 5 times x squared, negative 5 times 3x, negative 5 times 11, and combine like terms to get your answer. Same thing on 10 here. You're going to have 2 of these questions. One's probably going to be like 7. The other one's going to be like 8 or 10. 3x times x squared, 3x times a negative 7, 3x times 5, followed by a negative 2 times x squared, a negative 2 times a negative 7x, that gives you 14x, and a negative 2 times 5. Combine like terms. There we are. All right, moving on here on 11 and 12, you are going to divide. You're dividing everything by 9. In the numerator, and then taking away 2 x's. Everything loses 2 x's. So it's going to be 6. That's 54 divided by 9. It had 3 x's. You're taking 2 away, so it's x to the first. Plus 45 divided by 9 is 5. Loses 2 x's. X to the third. Minus 27 over 9 is 3. It loses 2 x's. X squared. Here on 12, you're going to divide everything by, 10, everything loses 2 x's and 2 y's. So I made a boo-boo. Boo-boo right there. 60 divided by 10 is 6. That's 6x squared, or x to the 5th, y to the 3rd, plus 5. 3 minus 2 with the x's is 1x there. Y to the seconds. Synthetic division, guys, always set what you're dividing by equal to 0. We're really checking, is x equal 3 a solution? If you get a remainder of 0, it is, so this is not. Anyway, 5 for 5x to the third, negative 8 for negative x, negative 8x squared, 7 for 7x, 21 for the constant 21. Bring down the 5 because you're really doing 5x to the third divided by 1x. 5 divided by 1, 5. Always do cubby times this number, 15. Then you add the columns up, 7. Cubby times 7, 21. Add them up, 28. Cubby times this number, 84. Add them up. That's always your remainder. You get 5x to the third. You're dividing by x. You're losing a power, so this is 5x to the 1 power less squared plus 7x plus, because it's positive, 28 plus, because that's positive, your remainder divided over what you divided by. All right, just be careful on 14 here because you got to add in a 0. You went from x to the fourth to x squared. 0x to the third needs to be right there. Bring the 3 down. You said x plus 1 equal to 0. X equals negative 1 goes in the cubby. Negative 1 times 3 is a negative 3. Add them together. Negative 1 times negative 3 is 3. Add them together. Negative 1 times 1 is a negative 1. Add them together. Negative 1 times 6 is a negative 6. Add them together. That's your remainder. You started with x to the fourth. You're 1 power less. 3x to the third. That's a minus, so minus 3x squared plus a single x plus 6 minus, because it's negative 2 over what you divided by. The next part, so again, you're going to have one of these and one of those on your test. You're going to have all 5 of the remaining ones on this page. The degree is the highest power. That's the highest power. What's attached to the highest power? 35. That's the leading coefficient. What's the highest power? 3. That's the degree. What's attached to x to the third? Negative 4. That's the leading coefficient. What's the highest power? 2. What's attached to that highest power? 8. That's the leading coefficient. Guys, on 18, all you got to know is opposite in behavior equals odd. Alliteration, opposite equals odd. This is going up, this is going down. That's the opposite direction. So this is odd degree. It crosses the x-axis 1, 2, 3 times, 3 real zeros. These two are going in the same direction, which is not opposite, so it's not odd, it's even, and it crosses the x-axis 1, 2, 3, 4 times, 4 real zeros. All right, so you are going to have both of those. You are going to have probably 3 of 20 through 23. I will set up the question exactly like you see it, and I'll give you these 4 choices. All right, so what you got to look at is this is an even power, and the leading coefficient is positive. Because it's a positive leading coefficient, it has to end by going up. So I know it either has to be this one or this one. Because it's even degree, it has the same in behavior as we saw on the last page. That's why it's this one. To the third, that's an odd degree. The leading coefficient is negative. Because it has a negative leading coefficient, it ends by going south. Because it's odd degree, it has opposite in behavior. This one, even degree function, negative leading coefficient. Because it's a negative leading coefficient, it ends by going south. Because it's even, it has the same ending behavior. And lastly, on 23, odd exponents. For the highest power, it's odd degree. The leading coefficient is a positive 1. So because the leading coefficient is positive, you end by going up. Because it's odd degree, it has opposite in behavior. That's how you can get your answers. Guys, on 24 through 29, you will have 2 of these, and it's going to start your factoring section. Because you just have some x cubed in a number on all of these, you need to think about taking cubed roots. All right, so if you don't know how to take a cube root, or you don't know the cube roots in your calc, if you turn your calc on, you could hit the math button and number 4. All right, so it's got the cube with the square root. If you didn't know what the cube root of 27 is, you just type 27 in and hit enter, boom, 3. All right, so math 4 and then type the number in. The cubed root of x to the third is just going to be x, because you're saying, all right, I got x to the third. I want to take the cubed root. Well, this and this would cancel. X would drop out. So it's going to be x minus the cubed root of 8 is 2. You always take this first term and square it. So it's x squared. This is a negative. This has to be positive. You have to have opposite signs for your middle term here so that you have canceling. Because look at this. Negative 2x squared plus 2x squared. The x squareds will cancel. Negative 4x, positive 4x. Your x's will cancel. You don't have any there. That's why we need this to be a positive. Then you take the inner product. 2 times x gives you 2x, and then you always square the last term. All right, and that's it. Again, take the cubed root of x to the third. It's just x. Same sign, plus. Take the cubed root of 27. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, so plus 3. Take this first term and square it, x squared. If this is a plus, that's why we have a minus here. Take the inner product. X times 3 is 3x. Then you take this 3, the second term, and you square it, 9. All right, take a look at 28, because 28 is kind of like the last two. Take the cube root of x to the third, it's x. Same sign, minus. Take the cube root of 1. The any root of 1 is just 1. Take x in first term and square it. That's a negative, that's a plus. The inner product of x times 1 is 1x. Take negative 1, or take 1 and square it, and you get 1. Even if you square negative 1, you still get 1. Okay, the only difference here is when you take the cube root of 64, it's 4 with the x. Plus, take the cube root of 1, you get 1. You're going to take this first term and you're going to square it. When you square 4, you get 16, and then x squared minus. Because this is a plus, this is a minus, opposite sign. Take the inner product of 4x and 1, 4x. Then take 1 and square it. That's your answer. On 27, you're going to take the cubed root of 8, which is 2. Same sign, minus. Take the cubed root of 125. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. That's why it's minus 5. You're going to take 2x and square it, 4x squared. This is a negative, this is a positive. Take the inner product of 2x and 5. That's 10x. You're going to take 5 and square it, 25. All right, here on 29, you're going to take the cubed root of 27. That's 3x plus. Take the cubed root of 8, 2. Take 3x and square it, 9x squared. That's a plus. This has to be a minus. The product, the inner product of 2 and 3x is 6x. Take that second term, square it, you get 4. You're going to have 2 of those total on your test and the pretest, which you'll see tomorrow. All right, moving on here. 30, folks, I can do by easy factoring. What multiplies to 12 and adds to 8, 6, and 2. It's not going to be x plus 6, x plus 2. How do you get x to the fourth? You need x squared and x squared. All right? What multiplies to 30 because it's negative differs by 1. Differs by 1, 6, and 5. The middle term is negative, so the bigger factor's got to be negative. X squared minus 6, x squared plus 5. What multiplies to 48? Adds to a negative 14. That means I have to have 2 negatives. The product of 2 negatives is positive. The sum of 2 negatives is a negative. Anyway, that is 8 and 6. X squared minus 8, x squared minus 6. Guys, on these, I got to factor out the x that they all have in common. Take the x out. Everything is 1 power less. When I have x squared here, I can factor